Hey, there's the music. That means it's time for Animal Talk. Some of the best doggone pet people on the planet helping you with your pets. That is the mission of my soul. Today, we're just going to be relaxing a little bit and taking it easy, taking a break, taking a vacation, all those beautiful and wonderful things. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsors, wearingfunny.com, for all your pet parent t-shirt needs and clothing needs. Head over to wearingfunny.com. Hook yourself up with fun gear to show your love for your pets. And also want to thank everybody for joining us. Really appreciate you being around. It's Animal Talk, helping you with your pets, and it's we're here for you. It is strictly for entertainment purposes only. And talk about being entertained, that's what you do when you go on vacation and you travel. But sometimes getting there isn't always half the fun. Getting there is a colossal pain in the backside. It can be, especially when you're traveling with pets. It can be a real challenge. It could be downright dangerous for some pets. There was a series of news articles a handful of years back where it was extraordinarily dangerous for pets, and things have gotten a lot better. And now I think they're up in that. I think we're up in the ante a little bit. And we're going to talk about that because the folks over at Zoundz joining forces with the ARK over at JFK, and they want to make traveling just first class, high class, relaxing, and getting there should be half the fun. And today we're talking to Elizabeth Schuette, and she is she's the ARK president and CEO. And we also have Derrick Garrett joining us as well. And he's the founder and CEO at Zoundz, bookending that with Z's on both ends. Elizabeth, Derrick, welcome to Animal Talk.
Thank you, Jamie, for having us.
Thank you, Jamie, for having us. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to talk about traveling, and I want to talk about making it a positive experience for your pet. The airlines and everybody's always trying to make it safer. And I know there were several incidences a handful of years back, and safety has ramped up, and how people travel with their pets has changed dramatically in the last handful of years. And you guys are ramping it up to make it a first class, relaxing experience. But before we do that, Derrick, I'm going to pick on you first. Derrick, tell me about your childhood.
My childhood. All right. So I was born in Connecticut, but raised down in a small town down in Virginia called Clover, population 900.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we had it was my dad. My dad was originally from Clover, Virginia, and he and my mom met in Connecticut. Dream was to move back to Virginia and start have a farm and a restaurant. And so that's what he and my mom did when I was I think like 6 or 7 years old. So I grew up on the farm. We didn't live on the farm. The farm was a few miles away from our house. But anyway, we grew up on had a cattle farm. Grew up with dogs, cats, you name it, pigs, pet raccoons. No shortage of animals in the Garrett household.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Elizabeth, what was your first pet?
A dog.
A dog? A dog? What was the dog's name? What was the
Muff.
Muff?
Yep.
All right. So you are working. You're the CEO there at the ARK at JFK. So, but now this is an independent agency. You're leasing space at JFK.
Correct. Yes, okay. We lease a cargo building from the Port Authority of the New York and New Jersey.
So, how did the ARK come to be? Because we're going to get to Zoundz. Derrick, we're going to get back to you and Zoundz in just a second, because that's an integral part of the experience there at the ARK. So, Elizabeth, what exactly is the ARK, and how did it come to be?
Well, the ARK is an animal health reception and quarantine center. We're located directly on the airfield at JFK, so that means we have direct access to secure space at the airport. We can go directly to the planes and pick up animals, bring them back to our facility. We provide reception services, meaning when the animals arrive, we pick them up, we make sure they're all right, we feed them, relieve them, take them for walks, evaluate them, make sure they're okay. We also provide quarantine services for horses, as well as the CDC mandated quarantine for dogs. We work with a variety of businesses as well as retail customers, and also rescue organizations in importing pets and horses. And then we also do the export side as well. Came to be because the Port Authority determined that they needed to have a first class animal facility as part of their redevelopment plan. And they had put out an RF request for information, and the ARK's parent company, Racebrook Capital, answered that and was awarded the contract.
So are these is the ARK geared more towards companion animals, or is it geared towards more towards livestock and horses and dogs in trade?
Both, I would say. I would say the majority, 2/3 of our business, roughly, is the horses, and 1/3 is companion animals and smaller animals. However, in terms of numbers, I would say the companion animals win, and in
Pound per
terms of
pound.
yeah, pound for pound, the smaller animals are a critical part of our business, and really are the more publicly aware part of the business that everyone is interested in.
So because it says it's for the travelers as well.
Correct.
Is it are you really providing peace of mind for the pet parents there that their animals are taken care of when they get off the plane before they can connect with them, or do you have services for the travelers as well?
Absolutely. I would say that a big part of this, we're serving both the animals, animal welfare, making sure the animals are properly handled pre and post travel, but providing the owners or the handlers or the agents that are moving those animals a certain level of peace of mind that their animals are going to be handled properly and are going to end up in the right place is a huge part of our business.
How long has the ARK been operating? Since 2017 you've been
2017,
rolling?
6 years, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So you picked a pretty interesting time to get rolling. We branched off from another podcast studios from Podcast Detroit, and we branched off in 2017 doing this podcast, Your Voice, where I host a couple of my shows and a few others. And it was right around 2017. And then the world, I understand, kicking off a business and the world getting weird. But in your case, the quarantines really got exaggerated, and how did you handle that? Did you have to like quarantine dogs longer during the pandemic? Well, we're not out
No,
of it, but
no. Really, the biggest change that has occurred since we've been open is the Center for Disease Control implemented a program that just where they're testing and quarantine animals, particularly from high risk rabies countries, and that occurred because there were a number of animals, dogs in particular, dogs imported that had rabies, and the dogs bit people, and there was a tremendous amount of resources put
mm,
into tracing back where those dogs came from. And CDC determined that it was necessary to incorporate a true quarantine program for certain dogs. And so that has just happened in the last couple of years. In terms of the pandemic, I would say that uh, the we actually benefited from the pandemic in that we stayed open. We did not close a single day, and so a lot of the different government agencies shut down or had a partial shutdown, and we were able to remain open. So a lot of the business ended up coming to us and experiencing our first class facility, and they've stuck with us.
so this is something unique to JFK because that's kind of the destination for a lot of the international flights that are landing.
Correct. It's one of three major ports of entry. The other two are Miami and Los Angeles, and then Chicago is to a lesser extent. But those are the major ports of entry for coming into the United States from another foreign origination point.
Are there places like the ARK in these other ports of entry?
Uh, Miami does have facilities for horses, not so much for pets.
Hmm.
There's an offsite veterinary facility, but not nothing like the ARK, and same in Los Angeles. So we are unique, and the whole the whole dream was to prove the concept at JFK and then take this concept to other major ports of entry.
All right, yeah, and just having a nice arrival, because grabbing your luggage and getting reconnected with your pets. There's been trends in the last handful of years, like I had mentioned earlier. There were in the news. There was a rash of very sad stories of pets not faring well, in being and not being in the cabin with their owners, and then not faring well on a flight. Has that changed over the years? And then the other thing, we're going to talk about not companions, but support animals. So, but how are the airlines treating animals differently in the last handful of years?
Well, it's important to recognize that there's basically three ways animals can travel. One is as you mentioned, in the cabin with you, but that's limited to very small animals as well as certain now support animals.
Mm-hmm.
The other way is you can check an animal basically like you would check a piece of luggage. And the third way, which is the way we recommend for any animal that's bigger than maybe 15 to 20 pounds, is for the animal to travel in cargo. Uh, Understanding that, of course, that can be a costly alternative, but it is the safest and most pre-planned option available to any owner, and it ensures that all of the work is done in advance to make sure that the animal will be taken care of at any potential stop, and that all the documentation is in place. So a lot of the incidents that you're referring to occurred mostly when animals were checked as excess luggage or
Right.
excess baggage, and
So cargo,
unfortunately, that can end up as a problem.
yeah. So cargo, that's a separate flight from the traveler, generally speaking. So
Sometimes, yes,
that's all
yes,
right. So that's a separate thing, and hence the reason landing at different times, arriving at different times, and,
exactly.
precipitating the need for you even more. And so there's been a change with the companion animals, and not companion animals, but the emotional support. And you read the ridiculous stories. The guy with the emotional support
Peacock,
peacock.
exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's I got my cat. I'm a cat guy. I love dogs, I love cats, but I'm a cat guy. And I got my cat Percy, and I call him my emotional support cat. And I just yeah, I've taken him to school with me. And just it doesn't calm things down, though. When I bring him, the kids go crazy for the cat. So it doesn't really calm things down much at all, but it makes me happy, and he gets mad at me. But yeah, so people traveling with these emotional support animals, it just I think that's it made everything a little bit weird with traveling with pets, I believe.
Yeah, yes, I would. As a professional in this business, we've certainly experienced a huge increase in the number of people that are now classifying their animals as support or service animals. I mean,
Yeah.
there are true service animals that are working with blind people or people with diabetes to sense their blood sugar levels, or other real service animals, and they're necessary. Um, Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are probably fudging the rules. I hate to say it,
Yeah.
and really, there's no way to stop it because of the way the laws are written. So the most recent change was the FAA put into place a standardized form, and they eliminated the pure emotional support animal category, and now there is simply the service animal category. Um, but it is you. That's why you see so many animals traveling in cabin with their little service animal vests. Uh,
Yeah.
but the appropriate way would be to for a smaller animal would be to pay the $120 or $100 extra fee and put the animal in a container that's under the seat in front of you,
Yeah.
or go with the cargo option.
So yeah, I don't begrudge anybody their service dog, but again, some people do bend the rules. So Beth, how once you get these animals here, they're separated, and especially the ones that are more companion pets, companion animals. How do you soothe the savage beasts once they arrive and they're waiting for their parents to come and pick them up?
Right. Well, so there's a lot of research that shows how an animal is handled either pre or post the actual flight. It makes a huge difference in their stress level, and that's where Derrick comes in. Hey, Derrick. uh,
Hey,
but
and
we,
that's what I thought. I thought that would lead us into Derrick very nicely.
yeah, we. It's really important that the animals are out of the cargo environment as fast as possible. And they get off the plane. There are the International Air Transport Association (IATA) actually says that animals should be last on and first off. That doesn't always happen, but they're supposed to be coming off the cargo as fast as possible. We, with our status at the airport, we're able to go directly to the aircraft, pick up the animal directly from the aircraft. If that's an option, sometimes it can be more difficult if they've palletized or placed a number of animals on the same pallet and covered them all together, so it's a little bit more difficult. But we are able to get those animals faster than anybody else is, and we bring them in our vans, which is a temperature controlled van, directly back to our facility. And that's we Derrick and I were connected by a mutual acquaintance who has worked with both of us, and she thought it was a match made in heaven, and it has been
All right,
because
so Derek, yeah,
what
go ahead.
Derrick does, what Derrick has done, and I'll let him speak for himself with his Zoundz, is to provide scientifically based music that soothes animals, and so we play that music in our vans and in our facility. But I will kick it back to Derrick for a
Yeah.
further explanation.
So Derek, lots of experience as a young man with a lot of critters. So how long has Zounds been around? What was the precipice and what was the foundation of Zounds?
So back right, I say like 3 years ago, a veterinarian friend of mine slash neighbor just one evening was sharing how it's becoming more and more difficult to be able to examine both cats and dogs in a veterinarian examination environment. And he was saying how the pet parents, was kind of blaming the vets and the vet tech, saying, "Hey, my dog is fine at home, my cat's okay at home. It's got to be you." And so that really, I immediately thought about, my passion for animals, music, and entrepreneurship, and not to mention, I have another business, Roundhouse Multimedia, where we provide music architecture for hotels and resorts. And I do understand through that business how music can, in fact, affect human behavior in many different ways. So, with that being said, I immediately, after that conversation, I dove into, online and said, "Hey, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Let me see if there's any studies out there that shows how music can actually have a common effect on both dogs and cats." And sure enough, I found 3 or 4 peer-reviewed studies that showed there's specific parameters within music, such as chord progression, tempo, the key that the song's actually written in, that could actually have a common effect on both cats and dogs. However, the music for cats, and it couldn't be more opposite, for dogs. So, you in fact,
Cats, there's a lot of scratching in it. I'm sorry.
actually,
I'm
I
sorry.
love it.
Had to go there.
But the cats actually they gravitate more to I would say like a digital sound, like very high frequency digital sounds. Where for dogs it's more in the like the warmer piano sound, lower register type of area in terms of how the dogs are affected in a common way. But definitely you should not play the cat music for the dogs.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Right on. That's interesting. So Beth's gonna have to keep them separated there, and have the puppy music on one end, the kitty cat music on the other, and then. So, does the dog music work well for like the horses and the sloths and the goats and everything else that's coming through?
So we're actually we're in the early stages of really trying to find out what is out there musically in terms of studies that support, how horses can be calmed in the same way that dogs and cats can be. So, I'm not. It's too early on for me to say yes, the dog music would work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we are working on that, and our goal is to be able to roll out our equine program with the ARK
Oh, that's
in these
cool.
upcoming months.
Oh, that's amazing. So, was this created and was your goal working with the ARC, or did that happen ancillary to this?
Yeah, so that just as Beth was saying earlier, originally we were planning, this, the whole idea came from, again, the anxiety that both cats and dogs deal with in veterinarian environments. But then as we were creating the music early on, we were testing it in shelter programs or different various shelters. So that's where we really started to. So even though our focus initially was in veterinarian hospitals, at this point now, you know, we find that Zoundz could be a useful tool in any environment where both cats and dogs are stressed. So my introduction to Beth came after the fact. I would say within the past like 6 months, we
Okay.
started talking and things started to evolve.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'd love that. All right. So instead of having the girl from Ipanema playing and when you're at the vet's office, uh, it's the first thing that popped in my head when you said you did resort music. I go, well, you got girl from Ipanema
Right,
on
right.
a loop there. So instead of that going, you have this music curated. But you definitely want a dog room track and a cat room track going for the vet's office. You don't want to hit the wrong button to make it twice as hard.
Right, exactly. So you definitely, if you play the dog music for the cats, it's no adverse effect.
Sure.
However, the opposite could definitely be an adverse effect.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Right on. Right on. And so you're working on seeing what works well for the other types of critters. Now, is this something, Zounds, it's geared, you started out working with veterinarians. Is this something, because a lot of people have trouble with their dogs at home. Cats, they run, they hide, and they got their thing. Dogs, they freak out and they rip up stuff or make mistakes around the house, especially like fireworks or the holidays and changing furniture around or lots of strangers in the house or is this something that you're going to gear and would work in somebody's home?
Absolutely. So yeah, so that's a very good question. We actually, our app that already exists, there's a consumer side as well as a pet professional side. So on the consumer side, we're working with Dr. Lisa Radasta, who's an animal behaviorist, and we have different channels for different scenarios. So for instance, we have a channel called Scary Sounds that can be used during thunderstorms, where we have masking happening simultaneously while the common music is playing, which is a very popular channel on the consumer side, depending on where you live and the time of year. And then we have, another channel called Eats and Treats, which is more from a conditioning standpoint, where you play Zounds when it's time to eat. And we have another channel called Travel Time, which is when you're trying to crate train them and make traveling in the car more of a positive experience as opposed to a negative. So yeah, so we do have a very extensive library of Zounds for the consumer side as well as the pet professionals.
I love that. I love that. So Elizabeth, over at the ARC at JFK, how do you filter in the music for the different critters? And then, yeah. So how do you? Well, let's just start with the one question. I do that all the time.
That may
Yes,
be a Garrett question.
I ask 10 questions and then I'm like, go. All right. But so how do you filter in the music for the different critters?
Beth, do you want me to take that? If just
Oh, do
Sure.
you know, Derek?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be more of it. So we at this moment, Zounds is available through voice activation on the pet professional side on both Google Home mini speakers as well as the Alexa, because we wanted a very easy solution to be able to deploy, and not take up a lot of space. So right now there's Google Home and or Alexa speakers throughout the facility.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then you can call up whatever sort of track you need for that particular region at that point.
That's exactly right. Correct.
All right. So Elizabeth, have you been there, and what's your impression as a listener, having in there working with the animals and being around? How's the music for you?
Well, it's very pleasant music. It's not at all jarring or anything. The animals genuinely seem to calm down when we play the music. Like I said, we do play it in our van. So if we're picking up dogs or dogs and cats, we play the dog music, which, as Derek says, doesn't seem to adversely affect the cats, but not the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
And we do see more, I would say, the majority of animals that we see are dogs. We do get a fair number of cats, but it's mostly dogs. So we play the music in our vans. We play it in our facility. The cats have a separate area, so we are able to isolate them and play cat music if we have cats in the facility. Uh,
Have you heard it enough, Elizabeth, to go to listen to it and go, "Oh, this is so a cat song," or "This is a dog tune for sure."
well, you can tell the difference, but I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not that good yet.
All right, all right. So, Derek, how big of a library do you have for each gender of of critters there?
So right now we have our library consists of around 250 composed tracks,
Oh,
and we're starting to grow that on a monthly and quarterly basis. Now that we kind of found our rhythm, and I also was it wasn't easy finding the right composers. For the job because it's actually more difficult to simplify for some composers than they're used to these complex showing off the skills, and for this it was more we didn't really care about genre. We really want to stay focused on these specific parameters and be pleasing to the pet parents as well and humans. So yeah, so that was a challenge, but we really have a great team of composers now, and and so we're starting to ramp up our library even more now.
I like it. So are these all instrumental tracks?
All instrumental, yes.
Okay. And then so yeah, where is it being recorded? Where's the production being
So,
done on
so in this day and age with technology, everyone, if they're any sort of composer or a producer or both, they have their own setup in their home. Back in the day when I was a record producer and engineer, we had a SSL-J that cost $5 million.
it was the size of a Volkswagen,
Right,
yeah.
the size of a Volkswagen. Now you need a Mac and $5,000 and you're golden. So
Yeah.
the composers they're all self-contained in terms of their recording facilities.
That's awesome. It's just I got a lot of friends in the music industry. I was just kind of curious where you were sourcing things out. Just always intrigued by the people who make the music. So how would describe the genres? You said you don't you didn't care too much about the genres. They need to follow those things. Would you describe the music as like country or pop or easy listening or
Yeah,
what
like yeah, even like in our messaging, you'll never really hear us refer to genre because when it's all said and done, like a lot of people, they instantly think classical music is the answer to calm, their pets. But at the end of the day, there's so many subgenres of classical, and yeah, you may find a classical piece that's effective, but then the very next piece could be very ineffective and undo everything that was just done. So we really try to stay away from genres. Saying, "Hey, reggae is going to make your dog," just
yeah.
dogs and cats do not understand genres. They respond to parameters within a song. But if you have to say, like, my ultimate goal, I want Zounds to become the pet genre, right?
Yeah, okay.
That, but I guess new age, it's not really classical. It's kind of. I have to say, it's really, it's in its own category. It really is.
All right.
I would say, yeah, it's in its own category. And one other thing that I'll point out, I think to our earlier question you were asking Beth in terms of how the music was affecting her. We've been conducting some studies and surveys with pet professionals who are using sounds in their facilities, and we've been getting a lot of positive feedback from the vets and vet techs saying that the music is calming for them, and as a result of them being calm when they're in the examination room with the pet is feeding off their energy and it's helping from that perspective as well,
Oh,
which is very interesting to hear. So we're really starting to pay close attention to that as well, of how it's affecting the pet handlers and professionals.
Awesome. So, Beth, another question for you. Seeing a lot of animals coming through and seeing a lot of pets coming through. What is something that you see regularly that you're like, oh, I wish this pet's owners had done this or provided this for their pet traveling? What is something that when you're traveling with your pet, if people aren't going, and especially if they're not going to the ARK where you guys are equipped and ready to help the pets, what's something that pet owners forget to do on a regular basis that you're like, oh, I wish they had done this or they had included this or did this?
Well, two things that happen commonly. One is inappropriately sized travel crates. And if an owner is arranging their own travel as opposed to using a professional shipper, uh, that frequently happens. They'll maybe um, choose a less expensive option, a smaller crate, because the especially in cargo, it's done by volume and weight, and so a smaller crate is going to be less expensive. But that's really not good for the animals. They can, their heads, but hitting up against the top of the kennel, and it's really unfair to the animal and not good for animal welfare. Um, the other thing that we see that really could be done, regardless of which way, is a little note on the top of the crate that says, "Hi, this is so and so, and he or she likes likes to be played with, is a little bit fearful." Kind of like a little bit of an advance warning would be is always welcome, and it also personalizes the travel so that anybody coming in contact with that animal then has an immediate connection with them.
Yeah, this is Steve, and he will bite your fingers off. But at least you know his name
Exactly.
is. At least you know his name is Steve. And you're like, hey, Steve, how you doing, buddy? And you don't put your finger in the cage. Well, you never ever put your finger in the cage anyway. But
True.
Exactly.
right on, right on. So, Derrick, Zoundz is app based, right? So, can people just go to the Google Store and the Apple Store and find Zoundz and get it and get music to calm their pets?
Yes, absolutely. Zounds Music for Pets is in both the iOS and Google Store. Correct.
All right, and that's is there a subscription fee to this? Is there per
Yes.
minutes listened? What do you? How
Yes,
do you?
at this point it's a subscription model. It's
Is
2.99.
there a consumer end and then a professional end?
Yeah, but the consumer and professional are two different models. You log in differently. But
Okay.
on the consumer side, it's 2.99 per month.
Oh,
For
okay.
consumers, yeah. So
That's
it's not breaking the bank.
No, that's really reasonable. So Elizabeth, people traveling through JFK with animals, is this something that they have to book specifically through you, or is this something that just happens as they travel?
No, they. That was the original thought, was that it would happen automatically. For a variety of reasons, that's not the way it worked out. Uh, and so, it an animal that would be traveling into, out of, or through JFK. If someone is, a retail customer was trying to coordinate their pet's own travel, they would have to contact us directly, either through our website or calling us. We're www.arkjfk.com, and work with us. There are situations where a federal agency may step in and determine that an animal must come to us, and that's more unexpected, or last minute kind of transfer. Or the other situation that can happen is maybe there's a problem with the airline, or the cargo facility is closed, and in that case, the different handlers that are working for the airlines at the airport will uh, bring animals to us directly for animal welfare reasons. So, the U.S. Department of Agriculture requires that animals are handled in a certain way, and anybody that is transporting animals in any fashion, either by air or on the ground as ground handlers, would have to adhere to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Animal Welfare Act, which requires that animals are taken care of within 4 hours or less from the last, from the time of travel.
Okay. Right on. So that's arkjfk.com. And then Zoundz is Zoundz, Z on both ends, for pets, Zoundz for pets.
Music for pets.
.com. What?
Oh yeah, zoundsforpets.com, and then or Zoundz Music for Pets, either or.
Sounds music. And what are people going to find when they get to? Are they going to find samples of the music to listen to? And
you know, at this point, and that's a good question. We're adding that to our website because we're revamping the website. It's not available yet, but we are going to be adding that to our website as we revamp it.
Because that'd be my first question. My first, what the hell does it sound like? And I'd be like, I'd want to click on it and hear what it sounds like.
Right.
It's like
there's a trial. If you download the app, it's an actual trial, so you can test it in the actual app.
Okay.
So there's a I think it's like a 3-day trial.
Perfect.
On the app. So yes, you can check it out there.
So and then so the app's available, the Google Store and the Apple Store. So whatever world you live in, the Android world or the Apple world, you're friendly for both. That's great. So Beth, Derrick, thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I appreciate it.
Jamie, thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's great.
You guys have a good evening. I want to thank everybody for listening and being with us. Remember, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all those podcast things and all the podcast places. And until we see you again, have an exotic week and kiss your wild thing for us.
I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Hold on.